Hello, and a very warm welcome to SportsLumo Special Olympic Series 50 Greatest Olympic Moments for India. I am Siddharth Vishwanathan, Editor-in-Chief, and I will take you along this marvelous journey of India's 93 glorious years in the Olympics. Now, football and India and power, they don't match, right? But you're wrong. India, when they were in the 50s and in the 60s, was a competent football nation. Just imagine this, folks. The All India Football Federation at the time considered the Olympics to be far greater than the FIFA World Cup. Did you know that the football team had gotten an invite to the 1950 World Cup in Brazil? Yes, they did. It's a true story. But remarkably, in one of the greatest snubs, the Indian team refused. They went into the Olympics. Olympics was a priority. 1948, 1952, 1956, 1960. Indian football kind of reached a glory moment in the 1956 Melbourne Olympics. They were an Asian power. Agreed. They were remarkably on the cusp of a historic medal. They came very close, folks. You will not believe it. This is an unbelievable story in the 1956 Melbourne Olympics when Indian football just almost got a medal. There was a hat trick. The games were totally disrupted by geopolitical wars. It was a volatile time. India could have done the unthinkable, but it was not meant to be. Football in India could have taken off in a much bigger way had they secured success in 1956 Melbourne. But this story will really blow your mind. Still rub your eyes, folks. Still rub your eyes and open your ears. The Indian team declined to be part of the FIFA World Cup in 1950. It was one of the costliest blunders ever. 1956 Melbourne almost confirmed it. But at the end of the day, let's understand that this was one of the most glorious chapters in Indian football. The Indian football team was placed in a pretty tough group. But before that, there were two instances which they had to deliberate upon. One was in their hands, the other was out of their hands. At that time, the Indian football team had good success playing barefoot. Now they had to make the choice whether they had to play with boots or they play barefooted. Those were novel times, folks. Yes, in India you've often seen people play all kind of sports barefooted. But this was the Olympics. Could a team play without boots? Did they have an unfair advantage? The answer was, in the end, India had to buckle down. They had to wear boots and play proper footballing shoes. The second equation was well out of their hands. 1956 was a very volatile year in international affairs. The Suez Crisis erupted, which means it was full-out war in the Middle East. This resulted in Iraq and some Arab states pulling out because of Israel's participation. It was also a Cold War time. Soviet troops had invaded Hungary. The blood in the water match was going to redefine what the Hungarians felt about the Soviet Union at that time. That is for some other day, folks. But more crucially, Hungary were in India's group. It was an intimidating prospect, folks. Hungary were the 1954 FIFA World Cup finalists, and they were expected to go all out for gold. But due to the Soviet invasion of Hungary in 1956, the football team pulled out. What was initially meant to be 8 games now got reduced to 3. The first signs of a miracle were slowly being put into place for the Indian team. Their first match was against Australia. It was 2-2 at halftime. Controversially, in the second half, Australia had scored 2 goals in the space of a couple of minutes. But remarkably, the Indonesian referee at that time disallowed both goals. The Australian captain was furious and he conveyed his frustration to the Indonesian referee. But since the Indonesian referee did not understand English, he allowed the decision to stay. Australia, in their own backyard, were now under immense pressure. Neville D'Souza, one of Indian football's best, produced a stellar hat-trick. The 4-2 win against Australia in Melbourne was the golden point in Indian football at that time. Neville's hat-trick was sensational. And one almost got a whiff that with so much happening outside, so much happening inside, maybe there was a medal at stake. If not gold, maybe perhaps a silver. Because facing them was the almighty Yugoslavia team at that time. Yes, after Hungary, the Yugoslav Republic was also a formidable football opponent. What happened to the Indian team in that? It was a case of missed chances, folks. It was very tragic indeed. India versus Yugoslavia in the semi-final. It was going to be a very tough match. The odds were heavily stacked against India. But remarkably, India took the lead in the 52nd minute. It looked like the miracle was still alive. Imagine India beating Yugoslavia in the 50s. That would have totally shook up the football world. Jolted by that, Yugoslavia staged an epic comeback. Within 2 minutes, they equalized. And from that point on, they put immense pressure on the Indian defense. They crumbled. Yugoslavia won the match 4-1. India's hopes of silver and gold, potential gold, were dashed. But they still had a chance for bronze, because the losing semi-finalists would go into a bronze medal playoff. India's opponent in that was Bulgaria, a decent European football nation, but not a superpower as such when you compare it to the likes of Czech Republic, Hungary, or Poland. India still fancied their chance, but on that given day, Bulgaria were really effective. Defense, attack, midfield, they conquered them all. Bulgaria won, and India's hopes of a medal were over. But let us not forget, it was a very remarkable journey for India in the 1956 Olympics. They at least defeated Australia, gave a scare to the almighty Yugoslavias. They almost, you can say, were lucky that they got the bye against Hungary. But against Yugoslavia and Bulgaria, it proved to be a bridge too far. India participated in the 1960 Rome Olympics. But sadly, since then, it's been 61 years, folks. India have not even met the criteria of qualification for the Olympics since that time. The 1950s meant that India was an Asian power. We have to also remember that 1956 was also aided by the fact that even China pulled out. China pulled out because of Taiwan's recognition as an independent entity. That angered them and they pulled out. Thus, India had luck their way, but you can only sustain luck for a certain period of time. That is all for this fascinating episode of 50 greatest Olympic moments for India. I am Siddharth Vishwanathan and I will be back with more interesting anecdotes in the Olympics for India. Press the subscribe button, tap the bell icon, like, comment and share, folks, to spread the word. These stories will be told to you throughout the Olympics until its end. Thank you for joining.